Now, the United States has meanwhile vetoed a United Nations Security Council resolution that would have called for a humanitarian ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. Now, the vote on the resolution that was drafted by Brazil had been delayed twice as the United States, for its part, had agreed on a deal with Egypt for an aid corridor. Now, 12 members out of 15 voted in favor of the draft text, while Russia, the United Kingdom, abstained from voting, and the only country that vetoed it was the United States of America. On Wednesday, during the US President Joe Biden's visit, Israel agreed to allow aid into the Gaza Strip through the Rafah crossing near Egypt. Now, Washington says that it is direct diplomacy that can save lives. In addition, the United States says that it is disappointed that the draft has not mentioned anything about the Israeli right to self-defense, where Israel continues with its relentless campaign of air bombings on the Gaza Strip.
The United States is disappointed this resolution made no mention of Israel's rights of self-defense. Let's be clear. Hamas's own actions have brought this on, this severe humanitarian crisis in Gaza. And Hamas has caused so much needless suffering, death, and destruction. Every member state should condemn Hamas's terrorism and cruelty, and every member state should call on Hamas to cease its endless barrage of rockets against Israel. This is not complicated. It's not controversial. This is the bare minimum.
Now, speaking at the United Nations meeting, the Palestinian envoy made a very emotional appeal, asking for the international community to step in and stop the bloodshed that is being wreaked on the people of Palestine. Now, Riyad Mansour slammed the United Nations for utterly and completely failing to approve a resolution for a humanitarian ceasefire from the side of Israel.
A political disaster is underway, and yet the Security Council of the United Nations is unable to say the only thing that truly matters. Stop the bloodshed. I repeat, stop the bloodshed. For those who think they can avert a humanitarian catastrophe and a regional spillover while Israel continues bombing and killing Palestinians, think again. The region is united in telling you it is not possible. Listen to them. The only way to prevent both is to stop this criminal aggression against our people.
Russia has also slammed the United States' step, saying that we have once again witnessed the double standards of the Americans. Now, earlier on Monday, a Russian drafted resolution that had called for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire was again, remember, vetoed by the United States and its allies. Meanwhile, China has said that the United States has been leading the House for the last 2 days for the adoption of the resolution, but the result is simply nothing short of unbelievable, that there is still no humanitarian ceasefire. In response to the United States' veto on the resolution, Turkey has said, and I quote, "The United Nations Security Council, which has become even more ineffective, has once again not fulfilled its responsibility." The draft United Nations resolution has also urged the State of Israel, without naming it, to revoke its order for the civilians and the United Nations staffs to flee from their homes in the northern part of Gaza to the southern part of Gaza. Israel, remember, has ordered 1.1 million civilians in the northern part of Gaza to flee from their homes and to leave for southern Gaza last week. It had given an ultimatum of sorts of just 24-hour window, which was later extended. Now, this was being said that it was in preparation of a ground offensive that the State of Israel wants to carry out in the northern part of Gaza. The resolution, while condemning all violence and hostilities against civilians, has also called for the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. Hamas at this moment holds nearly about 200 Israeli hostages that were captured by the Hamas fighters when they carried out their incursion into the Israeli territory. Now, these hostages include many Israeli nationals. Many of them are actually soldiers who were captured from military base. And there are also quite a few foreign nationals as well who've been captured. And our correspondent Susan Tehrani has been tracking the story very closely for us and has sent us this report on the American veto at the United Nations Security Council that had been calling for a humanitarian ceasefire to provide aid to the people of Gaza. Listen in to what she has got to say.
After the United States vetoed the UN Security Council resolution calling for a humanitarian pause on Wednesday, Russia said that it had asked the 193 members of the UN General Assembly to convene for a special session on the conflict. It could decide to put forth a resolution to vote there. And although General Assembly resolutions are non-binding, members insist that they do carry political weight. The United States on Wednesday at the Security Council said that it was disappointed to not see any mention of Israel's right to self-defense at the resolution put forth. We did learn on Wednesday that Israel had agreed to open corridors for humanitarian aid through Egypt's Rafah crossing. Nonetheless, the UN Middle East peace envoy speaking to the council said that there is a very real and extremely dangerous risk of the conflict spilling over to other parts of the region as well, while UN aid chief Martin Griffith, who was speaking from Egypt, said, quote unquote, that we urgently need a mechanism agreed by all relevant parties to allow for a regular provision of emergency needs throughout Gaza. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION. World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.